call your names. Mayor Matthew.
Mayor Pro Tem Xavier Herrera, Councilmember Alice Chin, Councilmember Virginia Rosas, Councilmember Chris Caldwell, Councilmember William Bostic, and Councilmember Tim Wood. School Board President Manuel Hinojosa, Vice President Ash Hamarani, Secretary Jacqueline Jean-Baptiste, Trustee Don Reichling, Trustee Patricia Sosa Montalongo, Trustee Suzette Thompson, Trustee Adam Sanchez. Together, this team of 14 elected members, in accordance with Texas Education Code 11.303, must have a vote of at least 11 of the 14 elected members to vote in favor of any action to move forward. As you've seen previously, we will review and discuss the proposed budget, which encompasses the general fund, debt service fund, and food service or child nutrition fund. We will also review the request to have a voter-approved tax rate election on the November 2023 ballot for the citizens of Stafford, and a bond issue election on the November 2023 ballot for the citizens of Stafford. We will also review property values and the maximum compressed tax rate. We will complete our agenda by reviewing state aid recapture. We will also look at next steps after our meeting tonight on August 21 and end with a summary and reflections. At the conclusion of our work, the majority of its actions will not be carried out by this board, this council, or this superintendent. Instead, the lion's share of the implementation is carried out by the SMSD administration. I'll start by listing key SMSD administrators that are in the room that will carry out a majority of the work that we are proposing on this budget. As I call your names, and before I call your names, if I miss somebody, please don't let me miss them because everybody counts. Initially, we have Chief of Schools, Dr. Don DeBose. Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Kadir Almas. Chief Financial Officer, Christina Ordonez Campos. Director of Human Resources, Cecily Delco. Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Board of Trustees, Mrs. Sonia Austin. High School Principal, Mr. Raymond Root. Middle School Principal, Mrs. Marissa Vanison. STEM Magnet Academy Principal, Mrs. Jenny Liang. I think I saw her somewhere, okay. Elementary Principal, Dr. Diana De La Rosa. Early Childhood Principal, Ms. Twyla Hines. Director of CTE, Mrs. Debbie Nort. Interim Director of Federal Programs, Mrs. Shantae Norris. Director of Multilingual and ESL, Dr. Evelyn Castro. Director of STEM, Dr. LaKenya Perry Allen. Director of Technology, Mr. George Rodriguez. Athletic Director, Mr. Ken Savannah. Associate Director of Athletics, Mr. Sergio Hinojosa. Director of Maintenance and Operations, Mrs. J.C. Phoenix. Director of Child Nutrition, Mrs. Danny McDonald. And before I say each of their respective assistant principals, I also see Assistant Principal Ms. Karen Grant in the room. Ms. Karen Grant. I also see, who else am I missing? Mr. Oseas Romero, I see him. Oh, and then in the back, we see that, because I can't see through this dark light, I can't see any. Aisha Atkinson on the back. And then Rod, Director of Fine Arts, Mr. Rod Rodriguez. And I'm very sorry for the viewing public. When the lights are on your face, you can't see a thing. So for those people who perform, I get it. This is kind of rough. We can't see anything. Is there anybody else that I've missed in the back? It's really important, ladies and gentlemen, that I do point out names, because every single person in this district really matters, because at the end of the day, that's what makes the items work. And I'll conclude this, because this is all scripted. each of their respective assistant principals and coordinators. These staff members are the boots on the ground. They are where the rubber meets the road, and they make things happen in SMSD. To the viewing audience, please note that this is not the first time that this board and council have had an opportunity to view the presentation that you're seeing this evening. Before tonight's meeting, we've had an opportunity in multiple joint budget workshops to review the content, work with experts on the funding model, ask questions, get answers, understand the district's financial position, make additions and deletions, provide opinions and insight, and for that, I'm very grateful. I said all that to say that this board and this city council do not take this responsibility lightly, and they put many hours, agreements, and disagreements, and discussions into its collective offering that you're seeing tonight. The superintendent's report. All right, there we go. The mission of SMSD is for every student to graduate college and career ready without remediation. This next slide is going to be kind of long because I'm going to take you through several things. The strategy for fiscal year 23-24. Do more with less. Plan for a much smaller budget and fewer staff, but much larger expectations. Work in the present, but plan for the future. Keep your eyes on the prize and perform at a high standard, and keep student achievement at the top of your list. The Texas legislature in the Texas legislative session didn't do much for public education except for their additions of mandates for school security in funding and $15,000 school security in funding and mandates for armed officers and more reporting and $10 per student in funding and $15,000 for each of our 5 schools. Since safety is the #1 goal in schools, we've always prioritized our relationship and connection with the Stafford Police Department, with Chief Richard Ramirez and his outstanding police force. Chief Ramirez, where are you at in the building so we can see him? He wasn't. We love Chief Ramirez and his outstanding police force. In the city of Stafford, As each of you know, the last 2 to 3 years has been extremely tough with a worldwide pandemic, online instruction for all students, astronomical inflation on goods and services, and the pressure to compete to stay in the game or on top by recruiting the best people and retaining the best staff. This has been a challenge for SMSD and respectively the city. As some of you have heard me say, I've never had a parent that wanted a second-class education or a second or third-class learning environment that wasn't safe and secure. In SMSD, in the city of Stafford, the leaders of Stafford put forth a vision long ago, 40 plus if we're discussing SMSD, to put a focus on the children of the city of Stafford. While the rules have changed, the people have changed, and time has moved on, the vision of SMSD and the city of Stafford has never faltered. We are one. One city, one school district. We are one. Difficult decisions. In the last few months, we have had to make some very difficult decisions on what to keep, what to limit, and what to phase out. Student safety was an area that was not limited or phased out. We would not consider giving our students and staff anything less than the best safety and security that we could provide. In next year's budget, we will have Stafford Police on each of our campuses. The wonderful city of Stafford continues to support our overall mission and shares the cost of providing officers and all the appropriate training and uniforms in order to have an officer at every campus. Please note, the state of Texas is not paying for this mandate. The citizens of Stafford have put student safety first. We will continue to prioritize academics and instruction As news to many folks, the Texas Education Agency raised the bar this year for the A through F grading system. The Texas Education Agency will also retroactively apply the new A through F system to some of last year's scores in college and career readiness. Although Texas has raised the bar for A through F outcomes, SMSD is not phased and will continue to look at what we've been doing well in SMSD and evaluate and prioritize how we raise the bar on student performance in our district. We know that this can only be accomplished by continuing to collaborate with our community and the business members and taxpayers in our legislative body. We also know that we must have the highest quality teachers to accomplish this goal. We will need to recruit and retain at the highest level. We will also need to continue to be held accountable to perform at the highest standards of our Stafford community. However, we will not have the money or traditional resources to accomplish this goal. We will have fewer staff with more responsibilities and children in classrooms until the citizens of Stafford get a chance to weigh in. As a note to some of you, and new information to some of you, the 88th Texas Legislature did not vote for funding schools in the legislative session. They added more unfunded mandates and some very underfunded but necessary mandates like security updates to many of our buildings and doors, as well as requiring that we have a stellar Stafford police force, I'm gonna keep saying that by the way, to enforce those capital and operational measures. It will be up to each staff member and each elected member to communicate the facts of our position clearly to our community and to be transparent about our situation so we can propose viable steps going forward that will sustain the Stafford Municipal School District. The fund strategy. The strategy for the general fund will be for us to drastically cut budgets, review programs, seek grants, and to temporarily freeze certain areas of spending. As a district, we're going to need to increase enrollment under the current Texas Education Agency funding formula and increase overall attendance to 97% or higher. This tight pattern to raise the number of students in attendance is our only pathway to escape tax funding recapture. Unfortunately, based on the state of Texas's funding model, it requires that we either grow with students or pay back money that our taxpayers have raised to the state of Texas so they can use it in whatever way they deem appropriate. Our position this year and in the upcoming years puts us in between a rock and a hard place, if you allow me to use that colloquialism. We have 3,403 students that attend Stafford Municipal School District as of 8/17/2023. We will also continue to have a strong, growing, and vibrant property tax base that generates far more revenue than the state of Texas will allow us to keep. If you allow me to explain with a metaphor of a fixed income, our general budget is a lot like a fixed income that some of our most senior Staffordians may experience. The state of Texas creates a formula for SMSD and all public schools saying, we've calculated a budget for you based on the number of students that you have and the amount of money you will generate from property taxes you collect. It's your job to operate within the budget that we calculate for you. The budget we have calculated for you does not take into account natural disasters like COVID-19, increased student safety purchase requirements, higher cost for cybersecurity intrusion, inflation, competition to attract and retain the best teachers in spite of external job market fluctuations, and a national and statewide teacher shortage, the significant resignation numbers in all staff positions, and the list goes on. Instead, the state expects us to continue our mission to provide the highest level of academic performance without considering other human and associated variables that result from some natural and environmental factors like learning loss and supply and demand challenges for essential items that keep classrooms and campuses going every day. As we go through the presentation tonight, You'll get to see a glimpse of what trustees and city council members have had to deal with as they've learned the difference between losing state funding because our tax base is doing so well and the requirement from our tax base to pay back sums of money to the state of Texas while we struggle to keep our heads above water and maintain the outstanding program that we have for students. To keep items that we currently have in operation, we will need to discuss having a voter-approved tax rate election to supplement the severely compressed tax rate to recruit and retain staff. The district has already permanently removed 41 staff from the payroll that we cannot consider refilling unless we get more revenue. As far as programs go, we have been looking at every one of our programs that are not part of the basic education program that the state funds. The state fully funds kindergarten through 12th grade, but other programs that are value added and provide our students with the best opportunities to succeed, like early college, STEM, esports, Kickstart for Kids, daycare, and pre-K will continue to be evaluated unless there's an opportunity for relief. The strategy for the debt service fund will continue to be to support its capacity as it has been doing for all of these years. To increase capacity in SMSD and accommodate the need to grow and eventually not pay back recapture, we're going to need to consider having a bond election to address capital needs, existing capital investments from the district, and to push forward our overall enhanced 2030 plus vision. We will need to purchase land and make decisions on buildings, buses, and materials that make SMSD continue to attract students and families from all over the city to the best little district in the state of Texas. For the viewing public, please note that we've taken on the idea in the 2030 plus vision that we'd like to be a public school with a private school feel. We've started on this journey with our top-rated STEM school, and we believe we need to continue and expand that vision for 2030 and beyond. The strategy for the food service fund will be to continue to maintain its healthy fund balance, but to spend some of it to replace some of the declining equipment and tables throughout the district. Next steps. So what I'd like to point out also in the same slide is what I pointed out in 2022. Last year, I said, beginning, quote, legislature or VATRI in fall of 2023, end quote. The 88th legislature failed us in providing new revenue, and my statement on August 29, 2022 at 7 p.m. still stands. We are calling on the Board of Trustees and the Stafford City Council to call a voter-approved tax rate election. Unfortunately, SMSD is no different than our neighboring school districts in at least one financial challenge. I mentioned earlier that our budget was a lot like someone who's living on a fixed income. I also mentioned that even though we've been operating as though we're on a fixed income, we have other variables we're forced to contend with, like inflation and staffing hurdles and interruptions. Around the city and around the state, there's intense competition for high-quality staff members that teach in the classroom and those that support those in the classroom. In order to return to where we need to optimally operate, it will require SMSD and the city of Stafford to put a VATRI or a voter-approved tax rate election on the ballot this year in November of 2023. The voter-approved tax rate election will pay for needed positions, salaries, and programs that SMSD needs. In the following slides, the CFO Campos, is going to take us through a series of options that we have available to us. The failure to act for public schools at the Texas legislature has put SMSD in a position to request that the taxpayers in Stafford weigh in at the November 2023 election because the state of Texas considers SMSD as property rich. If the Board of Trustees and City Council agree to place a voter-approved tax rate election and a bond on the ballot in 2023, the citizens will ultimately control their own destiny, as we did 40 years ago when SMSD was created. Make sure I'm on the right slide. There we go. Financial reports, and I'll turn it over to our CFO. CFO? think they can hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, you don't have to press it.
There.
Oh, I don't have to press it? Okay. Financial reports. There are 3 funds that are required for adoption of the budget and the tax rate each year. The General Fund, $199, Child Nutrition Fund, $240, and the Debt Service Fund, $599. On this page, we see the projected beginning and ending FY 23-24 fund balances for all 3 funds. Please note that the general fund's budget was built based on the maximum compressed rate, MCR, plus 5 golden pennies, 0.6427 plus 5 equal 0.6927. Should the joint body call for a voter-approved tax rate election or a VATRI, the total maintenance and operations rate, or M&O, to be approved will be 0.8127. However, the budget will remain at the lower rate until the results of the VATRI are known. Our interest and sinking rate is 0.215224, and our debt service fund's budget will be based off of this rate. This amount is a savings to our taxpayers, and it is a reduction of approximately 3 cents since our last budget presentation in 2022. Assumptions in the general fund budget. We assumed a conservative average daily attendance of 3,300 students, or ADA. Property values per the TEA's local property value survey increased 10.08%. We have budgeted a 100% collection rate because we have traditionally received 100% of the taxes that have been assessed. A budget is a plan that we must follow to achieve our mission based on the limited resources available to us. The proposed revenue budget for the general fund is $36,136,611. This includes all of our sources of funding at this time. The general fund budget is a balanced budget. The proposed expenditure budget for the general fund for the fiscal year is $36,136,611, which is a reduced budget from prior fiscal years. We must do more with less and tighten our belts. It will take a great deal of teamwork to make it happen, but we can do it one step at a time. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Child Nutrition Fund revenue projections. The proposed revenue budget for the Child Nutrition Fund is $2,438,658. The Child Nutrition Fund budget is a balanced budget. The proposed expenditure budget for the Child Nutrition Fund is $2,438,658. Next slide. Next slide, please. This is our standing debt service schedule. Next slide. On this slide, we see the debt service revenue projections and the proposed revenue budget for the debt service fund, which is $9,110,792. The debt service fund budget is a balanced budget. The proposed expenditure budget is, for the debt service fund, is $9,110,792. Next slide. Next slide, please. This is our proposed defeasance. Our current interest and sinking rate allows us to pay our debt service and still have additional funds in our budget. With the additional funds, we're proposing a defeasance or a pay down of $1,825,000. Mostly coming, at this time, that's estimated, and it will be coming from the 2014 and 2016 B bonds. These will be a savings to the taxpayer monies. I certify that the foregoing information is true and accurate to the best of my knowledge.
All right, well, thank you to our CFO, and we'd like to thank you for your time this evening. I was going to end with the colloquialism that the roof is on fire, and then I said to myself, it isn't if we act, and that is something that we're going to have an opportunity to do. We'd also like to ask that each of our electeds approve the budget as presented and approve the tax rate as presented. Approve the need to put a voter-approved tax rate on the November 2023 ballot, and to consider putting a bond election on the November 2023 ballot. Mr. President?
Thank you, Dr. Bostic. At this moment, we'll go on to agenda item number 6, which is presentation by Mayor of City's contribution to SMSD and Stafford taxpayer support provided in SMSD 2023-2024 budget, and observations on budget and tax rate and other items. Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Let me thank all those who are here to watch us, the politicians. Thank you so much. Keep on watching us, and we will be better off by that way. We, the city, has been since the beginning been supporting SMSD. I don't know of many other cities doing this kind of a support. In financial terms, the sheet I have here has not everything. Just for this year, the current year, it's about $289,000. That does not include the use of Stafford pool. So we've been doing this one for ever since SMSD was open, came into existence. That kind of a relationship we would like to continue, and I don't know of, and like I said before, I don't know of any other city providing this kind of a support to its school. And if I give you the breakdown for this year, we are providing 3 officers for a cost of $260,000. And use of the civic center, this building here, is to the extent of $16,000 a year. And use of the Stafford Center is $12,500, or to be precise, $12,400. So in total of nearly, this city is bearing the cost of, to an extent of $289,000. If I round it off, I can say, to be easy, $300,000. So that is kind of this relationship we have. And we, the city, and I know all the city council members, would like to continue this one. But at the same time, we have to be careful of not wasting the money, because it is the people's money. and we have to be very careful. That's why the people are trusting us. It is their money, the people's money. So that's why we have to be very careful about spending the way it is. Spend it for the most essential thing and don't waste. So that's the point I have to make. And other than that, I don't have many things to say. Thank you very much. And let us continue the same path which has begun over 40 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The students of SMSD, the parents of SMSD students, and our community, and my colleagues here, as well as administration, really appreciate all the support that the City of Stafford has provided for the school district in its capacity as the only municipal school district in the state, so we appreciate that. So we'll go on to agenda item number 7, which is presentation by Board President regarding the 2023-2024 proposed budget and other related items. I'm not going to go into too much of this. I will say that you heard the presentation by Dr. Bostic, and there are challenges ahead of us. I have nothing but 100% confidence in my colleagues, these 7 men and women that provide a lot of their time away from their families to volunteer and give back to our community. So I really appreciate them. And I will defer my comments till the end. But at this moment, we'll go into agenda item number 8, which is comments and questions by elected officials pertaining to the presentations. And if we want to start with the Board of Trustees first, or we'll go one and one, as we've done in the previous. So we can start off with you, Mr. Mayor, and you can start either on your far left or your right side, and then actually probably better off to start off with Councilman Wood.
Yes.
And then we could alternate to Trustee Sanchez and go back and forth. So we're on agenda item number 8.
Good evening, City of Stafford, SMSD community, parents, children, students, athletes, esteemed colleagues, City Council, Mayor, Trustee, Superintendent, everyone, but especially a big shout out to our parents and our community members who entrust this school district and this city for the education of their children. I'm so proud of the things that we have been able to do, and I am concerned about our current situation, but what we are tasked to do tonight is to, with the decisions available to us, attempt to put us in the best position possible for success in the future. I know that there might be a concern, considering that I am an employee of the district. I have been a teacher, a Spanish teacher at the school district for about 10 years, a little bit longer than Dr. Bostic has been with us. And I do want to let the listening public know that a legal opinion was sought, that there's not a conflict of interest for me to be participating in this meeting and voting. So just in case, I wanted to put that out there. So some of the questions that I have, focusing on this current budget and the reports that were just given to us, the first one would be regarding some of these assumptions. I am concerned about some of these assumptions. Being a fiscal conservative, I always want to try to have a fund balance. The best practice, from my understanding, asking the CFO and other financial experts, is 6 months of expenditures. So you should have enough funds in your fund balance to cover 6 months of expenditures. And currently our fund balance is near zero. So I am very concerned about that. I'm happy to see, I'm not happy. Let me just be honest. I'm not happy that we're having to do all these cuts, because I realize the pain that it's going to cause to our staff, to the children. Ultimately, the reason why the citizens of Stafford pay these property taxes are for the education of their children. And it is my hope that the district will continue to allocate the funds to maximize that goal above all other goals. One of the questions that I have is regarding these assumptions. I am concerned that this budget that is presented is balanced, but does not attempt currently to rebuild the fund balance. I feel like we need to expedite finding a way to rebuild our fund balance. I'm also concerned about the assumptions for future budget years. It has been a terrible, perfect storm that the district has faced with the COVID pandemic, with the state legislature not stepping up to help us, and it has been a difficult, difficult thing, and I applaud my colleagues up here that were up here before I was in doing the very best with a difficult situation. But I think learning lessons from the past, we have to find a way to rebuild our fund balance and to control our spending in a way that has a minimal impact on students, student outcomes, and student extracurricular activities. So my question is it possible to, I guess at this late point, it's probably not possible, but my recommendation would be, and I want the public to hear, that we find a way to rebuild the fund balance. Because we don't want to find ourselves in this situation again. And we can't go off of assumptions about average daily attendance. We can't go off assumptions about not enduring another catastrophic event. God forbid we have those types of things happen. But these are difficult things and they cause real pain. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Am I asking questions regarding the whole budget, like particulars, or am I just making a general statement at this point?
On the budget.
Councilman,
Yes.
Councilman and members of the board and trustees, at this time, we're making general comments. I think at the end, you're also going to have another opportunity to ask questions, but we've been noting those right now because we may not have any more answers than we've had in our joint meetings already, but I think this is really a statement to the public as to what your position is, because tonight's position at the end is just really to vote on what you know, because that's, you've received the information that we already have, and so that information you've gotten, so, but it's for you to make a comment, probably more so than questions, but any more than we've already had, but.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. So I just want to express my concern and my hope that we are able to find a way to right the ship, to put ourselves in better financial situation so that we can do the best for the students and for the citizens that entrust their precious tax dollars to educate the students of Stafford and all those students who come to our school district. Thank you. That's all I have to say at this time.
Thank you, Councilman Wood, for your comments. Trustee Adam Sanchez.
Welcome, everybody, for coming and joining us tonight. The people up here just get credit for all the work that everybody in the seats does. Our faculty and staff really goes above and beyond for our kids. At the root of everything, that's what our goal is the kids of Stafford, the kids that go to SMSD. Yes, I mean, if you hear the news, you look at these reports, the future is not as bleak as it seems. I feel like there's opportunity in the information that we've gone over the past couple budget workshops. I think there is a light at the tunnel. I believe that we could be in a better place, but I know that we're working towards that. And the dedication to our staff, the administrative staff, the boots on the ground, their faculty, they've really gone above and beyond. I can't thank them enough. I really, as we said before, the legislature didn't do us any favors. We came out of a pandemic, but during that pandemic, we invested in the kids at the end of the day. It's not like we were spending frivolously. Stafford is unique in its own right, being the only municipal school district, but also having that community base, being the foundation. I've always believed that education is the foundation to every community, and it rings stronger here in Stafford. We're gonna have a big decision, all of us up here. I am confident in my colleagues that we will make the right decision for the children of Stafford and the people of Stafford. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sanchez. Mr. Mayor? Your turn?
Yes, I'm the next
No,
person.
no, you select your next person.
My turn?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Hi, everyone. For everybody here, thank you for coming tonight. For people watching this broadcast, I want to thank you. You're watching this because you care about the school budget. Quality education is very expensive and challenging, especially we have those past 2 years, COVID-19. We have just mentioned, Dr. Bossy mentioned about, the state funding, the inflation, and also the cost of finding good teachers and faculty. So CFO just present the budget to all of us. I think the 2023-2024 budget is a conservative one because she did not including the voter approved rate, tax rate to calculate the revenue. But in other words, the school body need to watch the spending closely. We have to watch our spending, and we must trust Dr. Bosick and his administration team and all the school trustee here, all the school trustee board trustee here. They will regularly monitor the budget number to the actual number for all the spending for all accounts, including salary, and make best decision to keep a balanced budget and continue to build a healthy fund balance in the year to come. And most important, we need to comply the fund balance policy. I think that's the best policy to make sure in the future we don't have this problem again. But like I said, there's so many variants this year, but I think together we got to work together to make we have a good physical good money to run the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Chen. Board Trustee Thompson.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Suzette Thompson. I am one of the trustees. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. I would like to acknowledge and recognize all our faculty and staff member that's here in the room this evening. I want to personally thank you all for your hard work. Like Dr. Bostic says, we are in a rock and a hard place. Decisions that will need to be made tonight about the budget, it's not going to be easy. Keep in mind, the budget did not deplete overnight. We had inflation, COVID, and we also had to compete with other school districts as far as salaries for teachers. Again, tough decisions need to be made tonight, and I'll do my best to make sure I do the right for our students and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Suzette Thompson. Mr. Mayor, your turn.
Mr. Bostic. Hey, excuse me. Good evening, everyone. My name is William Bostic, City Council position number 3. And I just want to commend everybody that's up here, Dr. Bostic, President Hinojosa, the school board trustee, Mayor Matthew, and my fellow council members. And also, I want to give a big shout out to our teachers who are here on the front lines every day. Good luck with this new year. I hope it's going smoothly. And then also to our students. But on a more personal note, I just understand that the new dynamics that we're getting from Austin, including the SROs, they are causing a big issue. And as somebody that had to deal with the Santa Fe situation personally, I understand how big of a situation this is. And this isn't a situation that's going to go away. It's only going to evolve as who knows what type of issues our students are going to be facing in the future. Technology moves fast, kids move fast, people move fast. And so we all have to be very considerate of all that stuff. But more importantly, just right now, we do have some tough issues we have to address. We have to take them face on. We have to make the hard decisions. But more importantly, we also have to think about whatever is coming from Austin. So that's school vouchers. That's the elephant in the room. We need to address that. We need to think about that because certain growth models, they might not function correctly if we assume that school vouchers or the standard model is going to continue to work. So if we're going to have to do anything, we're going to have to continue to think outside of the box, work together, come up with situations, and then more importantly, we have to be there together for our community. So once again, this is Stafford. We are one. Stafford America all day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bostic. Trustee Patricia Sosa Montalon.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank everyone who's with us tonight and also to the viewing audience. Thank you, City Mayor Matthew and City Council, for your continued support. I hope that we continue to work as one body. Dr. Amezcua, CFO Campos, your hard work has not gone unnoticed, and I appreciate all the hard work you have done for our school district. I'm looking forward to working with my fellow colleagues for the fiscal year 2023 to 24, supporting our superintendent and our president and the president of our board. I trust we will overcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sosa Montalon. Mr. Brown?
Virginia, Councilwoman Virginia Rosas.
Virginia Rosas. We live in such a unique world, in such a unique situation, being the only municipal school district. There's been challenges in the past, and we have overwhelmingly succeeded. When it looks dire and sad and how we're gonna, hands are wringing, when you have 14 people that work together going the same direction, it makes it a lot easier. It's not to say it's not hard. It's definitely hard. But there's some things that in life that happen that just happen. And being able to work together, there's unfortunate people out there that don't want to see Stafford succeed and have thrown roadblocks whenever they can to divert attention. But if we stay strong, because we're not the only school district going through there's many. It was just the perfect storm that hit. You know, nobody envisioned pandemic, but I have to say, I was truly, truly astounded by the leadership. And leadership is so important. It's such a simple word, but what goes into it is just amazing. During the COVID, Dr. Bostic and President Hinojosa really thought out of the box. I mean, they had to. The fortunate thing is that Dr. Bostic was already ahead of the game because he was a technology nerd, as he calls himself. And that's what helped us through the COVID and learning outside the box, being creative, coming with all kind of designs of keeping the children at task, still learning under the most dire of circumstances. It was a scary time, we all agree. But leadership that has been shown through President Hinojosa and Robert Bostic and his team is just incredible. We will get through this, and it's easy to sit there and go, what happened? How did you let it happen? It was the legislature, COVID, it was a myriad of things that just happened. We can't do anything about that. It was just something that came through the pipes. But the way you handle it and the way you approach it, if you have a positive outlook on how it's gonna work out and work towards that goal, and that's what we want to do, is work towards that goal. And we will get there. It's gonna take a little bit of work and a little bit of sacrifice. I know everybody, even with the city of Stafford, we're facing the same thing. We're not immune. So you have to give up a little bit, even though it hurts. And it's gonna hurt, because we need to get this in line, and we will get it in line. But you gotta just keep that attitude that we can do it, we will do it, and we're gonna do it as one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rosas. Trustee Don Reichling?
I know that all of us are concerned with the rough waters that we are in at the moment, but through all of this, we will keep our focus on the children, because the main thing that matters is that our children are getting what they need and what they deserve, because they are our future. And I know for me, that is my biggest concern, is just to make sure that, that our kids stay in the front and in our focus. And it's going to be a challenge, and there will be some hard decisions that need to be made. But we just need to just keep our focus on the kids and make all of our decisions for them.
Thank you, Trustee Reichling. Mr. Mayor?
All right. Good evening, everyone. Those who are sitting here in the audience, those who are viewing by television, I would like to say, first of all, thank you for electing us to do this job. Difficult times, we have to make hard decisions. I would like to save my comments for later, but there's one thing I would implore you as the public to do. Use your voices to vote. Use your voices to speak to your congressmen, your state senators, to change what's going on in Austin. If you don't like what's going on, go and speak. We don't like what's going on, we're going to speak on it. That's the only way things are going to happen. As we know, education is not being funded like we feel as if it should, but we're the voters. We put those individuals in office, we hold them responsible. If we don't like what's going on, we get them out. Just the same as if you don't like what we're doing, you vote us out. You come, you let your voice be heard. So I implore all individuals who are not pleased with the current state of education, who are not pleased with the way things are going on in the state of Texas, use your voice, use your vote. Talk to your state senators, talk to your state representatives, and let them know we don't like what's going on and this is the way we want it to happen, and that's the only way we're going to have effective change. Yes, we're going to handle the situation here at Stafford Municipal School District and the city of Stafford, but if you want to help us, go to Austin and speak on our behalf. That's the only way things are going to change and things are going to get better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Caldwell. Secretary Jackie Jean-Baptiste.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, and to our viewing audience. I want to first thank CFO Compass. She probably had one of the toughest jobs putting together this balanced budget, and then also Dr. Bostic and his executive cabinet, who had to go in and look at the monies that was divvied out to them and make tough decisions so that we could get to this point. I understand that, it was a nice-sized budget cut, but just know that our mandate to all of them was that any type of cuts that come is further us away from the classroom as possible, because as we stated, children are first. Their jobs, our job as an elected official, is to educate the children of this community. And so we always need to make sure that in any decision we make that our children are first. Just so the viewing public understands, there's so many obstacles, as everyone has said, between state funding, or lack of state funding, rising cost in goods and services. Most people don't look at that. You look at it from at your home, how much your energy costs, but just think of it on a grander scheme of things where we have to put air-conditioned buildings for our children to come to. We have transportation costs, just everything is rising. And with that rising, with no additional funds, we have to find ways to fund these goods and services. It's hard times for us at home as well as here. But again, just like at home, here, we're gonna make it through this. We're gonna all work together. We've done a great job this year, all 14 bodies, people up here. We've done a great job at looking at it, asking questions, voicing our concerns. But at the end of the day, we've agreed that, we're putting the best budget forward to be voted on, and that we are gonna fund our fund balance. We're gonna do a lot of things, but we're gonna take baby steps in doing them to ensure that we become financially healthy as a district again. but we hope that you put your trust in us that we will get out of this. Just like wasn't us that all got into it and it didn't happen overnight. And as everybody said, the perfect storm. So with that, I want to thank you guys, thank our teachers, our administrators, everybody. Know that we are supporting you. We're going to make sure to the best of our ability that you have everything you need to be successful this year within the constraints of our current budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Jean-Baptiste.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Board President. Want to go ahead and first thank the viewing audience and all those that are in attendance today. I promise I'm going to keep my comments pretty short, as you've heard a lot of back and forth, and you're going to hear a good amount on this agenda, and rightfully so, you should. We're talking about the budget process of this district, and more importantly, the impacts that after we've talked, for whatever time we've talked tonight, will have, at least for this particular school year, impact our students. So I want to go ahead and recognize Dr. Bostic, the executive team that's helped put the budget together, as well as each and every one of the executive team members that's been there. But more importantly, I want to recognize the boots on the ground, our teachers, our paraprofessionals, our maintenance, and all those other workers that make the day-to-day grind go for the district. They are well appreciated, and please know that yeah, this has been a long and arduous process to get where we're at. We're close to the finish line one way or another on this, but your job on a daily basis is greatly appreciated. Speaking as a former trustee and parent, and family member, I want to go ahead and tip my hat to each and every one of y'all and thank y'all for what y'all do. Please know that every one of these people that are sitting here, all 14 of us, are dedicated to our community, our staff, and of course the students. And know that this has been a long, arduous process, but the commitment is there to go ahead and make sure that we continue on the great legacy and history of Stafford MSD. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Herrera. Vice President Hamarani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will keep my comments brief as well. My colleagues have said it best, and I think you have a good picture of what's going on right now in our budget and what's going on around the state. I want to start off by saying I'm honored to serve the people of Stafford and a great city, and thank every single one of you who is here today or who's watching online or on TV. It is vital that you stay involved in what happens in our city and what happens in our district. It's truly an honor to serve amongst 13 esteemed individuals who I hold to a very high regard. And I know every single person here personally, and I know each and every one of them does it for the students, and they do it for the right reasons, because let's be honest, no one up here, none of the 14 elected officials get paid at all from the district. We do it because we care. We do it because we love our education system, and we want to make sure that every single student in Stafford has a quality education. We've remained good stewards of our tax dollars. I do want to highlight one of the things we did today. I know sometimes when we get in these board meetings, it feels like it's moving very quickly, but a lot of work and a lot of workshops have taken place. We approved defeasance today. That saves taxpayers almost $2 million. It essentially allows us to pay down our debt early. And we hold our taxpayer dollars to the highest regard. Those are our dollars. I'm a taxpayer. Every single person up here is a taxpayer. Our all-in tax rate is going to be 0.907924. That's a very low rate. In the 5 years that I have been on this board, we have cut our tax rate 30%. We've continued to be good stewards. One of the things that may be approved today is a VAT rate, and that's going to be something that would be on our November election. I want to make sure that every single person here understands why that goes to voters. When you look at our org chart, the top of the org chart for the school district isn't the superintendent, isn't the school board trustees, it isn't city council, it's the public. It's every single person out there who gets to vote and pays taxes. And so this is a decision that's going to be left up to the ultimate bosses, which is the public. And as we continue and as we go out there in November and have to make those decisions, I want to repeat something that I've said to the administration several times. Let's make sure we cut our expenses where we can, and let's make sure that those do not harm our students. Keep the cuts as far away as possible from our students. And let's also make sure we stick to our balanced budget that has been presented today. And let's not take anything for granted, and let's hopefully rebuild our fund balance if the voters do ultimately approve our match rate. There's something I mentioned last year, and it's something that still resonates true. There's a director at TEA, Dr. Drew Howard, who once asked a room full of trustees, he said, if you had a choice, if you would have challenges on the financial front or the academic front, which one would you pick? And it was unanimous. Every single person in that room said, we would rather have our challenges be on the financial front and have the academics working. And that's the situation we are in today, is we have financial issues, but fortunately for us, the academic side are important. Our true mission is working. And I'm very optimistic as we get our ratings that will come up shortly in September. We'll see that. This board has tracked those ratings very closely, and every single month we talk about the academics and we talk about test scores, and this district has gone in the right direction. So I'm very optimistic to know that we are fulfilling our mission, and I am optimistic that we will get past this financial situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Hamarani. Mr. Mayor.
Me.
Yes, you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dr. Bostic and members of the board. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and the rest of my council. Thank you for serving the people. That's the way we should do. But at the same time, like I said before, we have the responsibility to manage it properly, appropriately. This is a people's money. It's not our money alone, even though we pay our tax. So in the political world, the politicians think, oh, it's somebody else's money, they can spend as much as they want. That we have to change that kind of an attitude and the thinking, then we will do better going forward. So we wouldn't have to face the situation that we are facing now. Before I go further, let me thank Dr. Bostic, the President, and the rest of the board members, and also my colleagues at the dais. And I know all of them, all of us are for the betterment of the city as well as the school. The foundation of our society, foundation of the city, wherever, whatever, country, that is the education. Without education, the society is going to be so far down, and it will be very difficult economically to bring it up and be prosperous. So we have to do everything that we can have the future of this city to be in better hands. So that's why we have to do everything possible to give the best education to our children, the best possible way. And I am for it, and I know the benefit of the education. So let us go forward and do it with a selfless motive, without fighting each other. We all will have differences. That's the beauty of the democracy. Deliberate, look for the good, take the good ideas. If I think I am the only one who has the right ideas, I will be completely wrong. So respect the differences of opinion. Learn something from it. And don't be angry at each other. Talk nicely. We are not going to lose anything. We are going to gain. That's the way we have to go, and we should be an example for the rest of the people, because we are the one in the community leading to do the best job we are. We should consider ourselves as the servant of the people. But I said so many times before also, you may be getting tired of it. Once they get elected, they think people are their servants. To get the votes, they will go and say, hey, I am the servant of the people. So let us all change that one, be together, let there be differences, don't get angry at each other unless you are attacked personally being a crook. Then you can get mad at each other. But other than that, for policy differences, that's the way I am, because I have seen it, that's the way I would say that's the way we have to lead. Let us go forward, and I'm thankful for my colleagues and also Dr. Bostic and your board. Dr. Bostic, I want to thank you again for leading the school in such a way. I'm very thankful for the magnet school.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I will defer my comments to the end of the evening as well. So that will lead us into agenda item number 9, which is public hearing to receive comments regarding SMSD proposed budget and proposed tax rate. I would ask if any member of the public wants to come up to the podium, please state your name and provide comments. So public hearing is now open.
No, not yet. That's coming in the next group. This is just budget and tax rate.
Yeah, now this is just comments on so far on the tax rate. Okay, then seeing no public comments, oh, we do have one.
Good afternoon. Rodney Butler, 2538 Jester Lane, Stafford, Texas, longtime resident. I didn't have an agenda on the table, so I don't know. Am I going to be able to have some comments later on, or do I need to get it all out right now?
Well, at this point, you can talk now. It depends on what it is that you want to talk about. There'll be an opportunity also for you to talk about other items that are on the agenda.
Okay,
So,
that's what I need to know.
But what item?
Okay, well, we're talking about the budget.
Budget and tax rate. That's today. That's now.
I listened to a lot of you guys' comments. I appreciate everybody in here. I'm Stafford for life, Spartan for life. If you know me, you know that. Sometimes I might say some things that might cut a little bit, charge it to my feet, not my heart. It was a lot of comments about a lot of topics here. So I thought about one thing you said, Mayor. You all are elected officials, okay? And the public hired you, and the public can fire you, okay? One thing about the public, they're not stupid. And when you present things in a way that make them feel stupid, they may not feel good about that, okay? Information, we need to share information better. I'm late finding a lot of these things out, and I'm a former school board trustee, and that's not acceptable, okay? Around Stafford, if you make comments about a tough situation, you get blackballed, talked about, put down. So it's common for a lot of people to just keep it to themselves, okay? Trustees, it's tough. I know it's tough doing a budget and preparing things. You have to go by the recommendations of your superintendent. And council, you get the information from the joint meetings with the trustees. So I'm wondering a lot how we got here so fast. And I'm not happy that every time something goes wrong right now, it's either inflation or COVID-19. Okay? I would have to take a look at the numbers a little closer to give a deep opinion of what's going on. But if you're going to be coming to the public asking us to vote on a tax rate, please share the information a little better, okay? Please do. I'm all for the teachers and the kids, employees of this district. If you know me, you know I stand up for these kids. When I heard the fund balance was nearly zero, I almost fainted. Did this happen overnight? Did this happen in 1 year, 2 years? How did we get here? I also want to make sure we keep in mind of our economically disadvantaged students. When we talk about all the magnet, the STEM, and all these big programs, the average kids. Okay? Now, I've heard some discussion tonight about a voter, what do you call it? Voter, hold on, let me make sure I say it right. Voter approved tax rate election. Is this a permanent rate, or is this a rate that is it going to have to be talked about? Give me more information on that, okay? You know, are we gonna be stuck with whatever if we vote to raise our taxes, my money? Are we gonna be stuck with this rate, or give me some information on that, okay? Now, when I heard you talking about it, I briefly heard you talking about a bond. I don't know what that's all about. I thought about.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
There's going to be an agenda item further down. This
Okay.
comment is just for the tax rate and the general fund and the debt service.
The general fund and debt
service.
okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to.
That's okay. That's okay. I just want to make sure we're dealing in good faith with the public and share the information, get us the information, and we're not stupid. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Thank you for your service. Former trustee, Mr. Rodney Butler, thank you for your service. And I would like to remind, and I apologize, I should have done this earlier. We have a 5-minute comment per speaker, and then also just a reminder that the governing bodies cannot respond. So, thank you. State your name.
Lawrence Allen, 3717 Clark, Houston, Texas, representing Dr. Alma Allen, it's District 131. Just a point of clarification so we don't hit a technicality. As I looked at agenda item number 3, there was a word called defense. I don't know if it was misspelled or, and if it was misspelled,
yes, it was a typo.
Would it hit us in terms of a person who says, was it posted properly, even in the concept of spelling? And if it's not posted properly, are we in a position, because we tried to do something good with that tonight, to take action? I think we talked about a $2 million savings or something there. But with the public not understanding the terminology because of the misspelling, does it put us in a technicality where our vote could be rendered void? That's my, you see that word twice, it goes back in there a second time. I looked it up several times to make sure, try to find a meaning before I came up tonight, but I could not find a meaning, so I'm assuming it's misspelled. But if it's misspelled, it's then misleading, and that means the item was not posted properly, and it may have to go back and come up at another time. That's my thought. You can render your thoughts about that.
Thank you, Mr. Allen, for your comments. Any additional comments from the public? All right.
Good evening. My name is Amina Mohammed, and I've been a resident of Stafford for the past 26 years. I do have a question of concern, and it piggybacks on what Mr. Butler, I believe that's the gentleman's name, had stated, is that about the knowledge I learned about different things so late. And if we're going to bring it to vote, bring it to the public, what about an education? I've heard all of you all about the situation with the school district as well as within the city. And I read all of the newsletters that come out, and there's been no newsletter or public information so people can make an intelligent and informed decision. So I wanted to know if that is going to be done, some type of informational campaign before you can ask people to vote on something that they don't have really knowledge about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. Any other comments from the public on the proposed budget? Seeing none, we will close public comment on agenda item number 9. And then I will, the question that was brought up regarding the agenda item, I would defer that to our attorneys, and we can discuss that at a later date. So that leads us into agenda item number 10, which is discussion by SMSD trustees, city council, and SMSD administration on comments regarding presentation, SMSD proposed budget and proposed tax rate, and items 2 and 4 through 9 on the agenda. I'm going to take the lead on this, and I will defer my comments at this moment regarding these comments. Mr. Mayor?
So I will have my comments at the end.
No additional comments.
Mayor Pro Tem?
He's not here. Chris? No comments.
Secretary John Beck?
No additional comments.
About Virginia Roses?
I'll defer my comments to the end.
Trustee Rackman? Councilman Bostic?
Basti?
Yes, I'd just like to reiterate that thank you to the public for paying attention, and it's very important that I implore y'all to continue to watch this, pay attention, and just hear where we're going in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bostic. Trustee Sosa Montalon?
I'd like to thank the viewing public for their comments and their concerns, but no other comments at this time.
Councilwoman Chen?
Councilman?
Okay. I don't know, is it appropriate for, I know there's one gentleman, I don't remember his last name, but he mentioned about, he want to know more about the voucher. Is it permanent or not permanent? I think can legal counsel?
No, there's an agenda item.
Oh, okay.
Remember that you'll have the
All right,
opportunity.
so I just, just says if you could, maybe later we will get an answer from the legal counsel. That's all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Chen. Trustee Suzette Thompson?
No additional comments.
Councilman Wood?
Yes, I just want to acknowledge the pain that I take very seriously, this opportunity and privilege afforded to me by the voters to vote on this budget. And although I am planning to vote a certain way you will see, I do want to acknowledge the pain that this budget will cause due to these cuts, both to my colleagues and most importantly, to the students. Just as an example, being a coach, I am aware that there is an elimination of the food budget that is included in this. And I just want to acknowledge that that's going to make it a challenge for parents. I want to acknowledge that there are positions that are teaching positions that will not be filled. And I want to acknowledge before the public the pain that this is going to cause and increased class sizes. So I just want to empathize that this budget is not ideal, but this is the situation we have before us. I also want to acknowledge the pain that this causes to all the staff members, maintenance, cafeteria, all of the departments that work so hard. So I just want to empathize and express my heartfelt sympathies for the situation and the pain that this is going to cause, especially to our students and to our families and all of the colleagues that I work with here at SMSD that I'm proud to serve with.
Thank you, Councilman Wood. Trustee Adam Sanchez?
No additional comments at this time.
So, let's go. So are we done?
Yep.
You got-
I do have just one quick question, just because it was mentioned. Dr. Boston, could you just confirm, because as you know, one of the things that I take very seriously in this district, and now because of that, I put on the agenda, my first meeting was the idea of having lunch and breakfast for our students and not having any lunch debt. Can you confirm, because
That's correct.
that our program right now, we offer free breakfast, lunch, and we did dinner as well for all our students through middle school and, of course, for our free and reduced lunch in high school. Can you confirm that is not going to be impacted?
Absolutely, absolutely, Vice President, that is confirmed. Stafford Municipal School District does have a high economically disadvantaged group of young people that attend our school, and that does give us qualifications for free breakfast, free lunch, and Danny's not in the room. I was gonna give you another just on top of that, but yes, it is confirmed.
But can you clarify from Mr. Woods? I think he's talking about athletes and travel and things like that.
Like with the breakfast.
No,
Oh, I'm
so
sorry.
when athletes go to competition, the school district normally pays for their meal after the competition. I think that is what Mr. Woods, Councilmember Woods is speaking of. Is that part of budget cuts? Or have we not dove that deep into the budget?
I think we have delved that deeply into the budget. I think in order to make sure I make that correct, or get a statement that would be correct, I know there are cuts to programs, but I don't necessarily know that they've cut that specifically. So for example, for the viewing public, it's a percentage that they cut to like an overall budget, but the budget manager has the ability to move the money into whatever the position, whatever area that would be, whether that would be for food or whether it would be for activities, whether it would be for items that they need to have for their sport or activity. But specifically for food, I don't know that we've cut specifically that. CFO compost, am I correct, or?
Yes, you are correct.
Just seeking clarification, has food budgets for athletic events, for athletes traveling to competition been cut or not?
They have not been cut.
That was information from the athletic director, so I'm sorry. That's what
Okay.
we were told.
Okay.
So, I see Mayor Pro Tem Herrera's back, so I'll give him an opportunity. We're on agenda item number 10. Councilman Herrera, if there was any.
Thank you very much, Board President. I'll go ahead and hold my comments to a later time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So that leads us to agenda item number 11, which is consideration, discussion, and possible action by SMSD Board and City Council to approve the 2023-24 SMSD budget and related actions. So 11A, consider approval of 2023-2024 SMSD budget by SMSD Board and related actions. At this moment, I entertain a motion by the trustees.
President, go to B, that's the requirement for a motion.
So I got to go to B first, okay. So My apologies. So let's do 11B. Consider approval by SMSD Board to suspend the rule requiring a motion and second to take further action.
So moved.
So we have a motion by Vice President Hamarani. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
So we have second by Board Secretary Jean-Baptiste. Any further discussion? Ready for the vote? Motion carries 7-0. So there's a motion passed to suspend the rule. All right. So now, I could go back to A? C. All right. So 11C, call for a roll call vote and brief comments from the members of SMSD Board and members of City Council to approve the 2023-2024 SMSD budget as presented. And we can start with you, Mr. Mayor, and you can.
I do want to have a quick point of order. I do believe we have to approve 11A first as a trustee
think that's exactly.
board, and then we do a joint. So I do believe we.
I think that's correct. I think we have to do it as a board first, and then we do the.
Yes, so you take two actions on this for 11.33, so yes. So you can go back to 11A.
Okay.
and do 11.5. My apologies.
Thank you, Vice President Morandi. That's what I thought. Okay. So, going back to 11A, consider approval of the consider approval of the 2023-2024 SMSD budget by SMSD Board and related actions. At this moment, I entertain a motion on 11A.
You don't need to even call a motion. You
All
can
right,
just
so,
roll call.
ready for the vote? All those in favor?
I think you can roll call it because we suspended the rules. So
Okay. So, we'll start with Trustee Sanchez.
Trustee Sanchez approves.
Trustee Suzette Thompson approved.
Trustee Souza Montalongo approves.
Trustee Dawn Reichling approves.
Trustee Jean-Baptiste approves.
Trustee Ashamarani approves.
And Trustee Manuel Hinojosa approves. So we have a approval of 11A 7-0. So, and now we call for the roll call vote. And we'll start with Mr. Mayor, and we'll do alternating as we did before. So we can start with Councilman Wood.
Yeah, we'll start with Councilman Wood, yes.
Councilman Tim Wood, approve. Aye.
Alice Chan, City Council.
No, Councilman Wood, alternate.
Alternate.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
Trustee Sanchez approves.
No?
Yep.
City Council, Alice Chan approve.
Suzette Thompson, trustee, approve.
Councilman William Bostic, approve.
Trustee Souza Montalongo approves.
City Council Member Rosas approves.
Trustee Reichling approves.
Councilman Caldwell approve.
As I approve this budget, I just want to remind the budget department heads that the students should always come first when we're looking at what we decide to cut from the number that was given to you. But Secretary Jean-Baptiste approve.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Xavier Herrera, vote in favor.
Trustee Ashamarani, I approve.
Mr. Mayor?
I approve.
And Trustee Manuel Hinojosa approves. So the budget adoption passed 14 in favor, no against. So 11C approves 14-0.
14.
Agenda item number 12, consider discussion and possible actions by SMSD Board and City Council to approve and establish the ad valorem tax rate necessary for the support and maintenance of schools and the ad valorem tax rate necessary for the purpose of paying the interest and providing a sinking fund for the payment of bond indebtedness of the Stafford Municipal School District for the tax year 2023 to fund school budget year 2023-2024 and related actions. So at this moment, I'd like to entertain a motion on 12A, consider and possible action by SMSD.
Your motion.
Oh,
Because we suspended that, right?
okay. So then, we're gonna be voting on 12A. So, ready for the vote?
Oh, trustee Sanchez
Wait,
approved.
let me read it. Consideration and possible action by SMSD Board of Trustees to approve a tax rate of .8127 for the support and maintenance of schools for tax year 2023 and related actions. So that's the motion. So we'll do as a body. All right, ready for the vote? All those in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call, okay.
Okay.
Trustee Sanchez.
Okay. Trustee Sanchez approves.
All right, so just a point of clarity, are the rest of these roll call? We do back and forth? All right.
Yes, sir, and if I may, for just a minute, one of the reasons for the public, the way we do this is based upon 1133, that was 11303 that was just talked about earlier, is that the law requires that the school board, that a majority of the school board basically approves the tax rate and the budget. And the reason why it seems like it's kind of awkward is that there must be a vote by the school board in favor. For instance, if there's not a vote for the school board in favor, you can't move forward. So historically, what we have done as the two bodies, take a vote of, like you did with the budget, the school board would take its vote, and then at that point, then you do the joint, because the law then requires that there be the majority of both boards. So what you'll see here with the tax rate, you'll see the school board take its action to approve the both portions of the tax rate, and then both bodies together will then approve both parts. So it sounds like we're doing it a bunch of ways, but we're doing it because there may be an issue with the vote on the school board. So that's why, for those of you who have not sat through one of these before, that's why it seems like we're doing things twice. It's not really doing it twice, but we have to just go through that process according to the law.
Thank you, Attorney Pertal. And so we're back on 12A, so we do need to have a roll call just of the governing body of the SMSD board. So we'll start with Mr. Sanchez.
Trustee Sanchez approves.
Trustee Suzette Thompson, approve.
Trustee Souza Montalongo approves.
Trustee Reichling, approve.
Secretary Jean-Baptiste in favor.
Trustee Ashamrani approves.
And Trustee Manuel Hinojosa approves. So 12A passes 7-0. And then 12B, consideration and possible action by the SMSD Board of Trustees to approve a tax rate of .215224 for the purpose of paying the interest and providing a sinking fund for the payment of bonded indebtedness of the SMSD for the tax year 2023 and related actions. Again, we'll do a roll call. Trustee Sanchez?
Trustee Sanchez approves.
Trustee Thompson, approve.
Trustee Souza Montalongo approve.
Trustee Reichling, approve.
Secretary Jean-Baptiste approve.
Trustee Ashamrani approves.
And Trustee Manuel Hinojosa approves. Whew, 12C. Now we're gonna do both bodies. And so we'll have we'll start with council. Mr. Mayor, you can start with, to your far left or to your far right, however you want to do it.
I'll go with the far left.
Councilman Wood approve.
I just have one question, maybe legal counsel can help me out. The .8127, it's include, it's added the voter approved tax rate, 12 cents. But we did not approve that yet. That's agenda number 14. So if you approve here, that means, yeah.
Unless you have to go to the other side, back and forth.
Okay, sure. I just asked question, yes.
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 Assuming with the voter approved tax rate election with that number.
You cannot hear
That's the
me.
way to do it under the law.
I cannot
Yeah,
hear you.
I'll help Counselor, but you have to approve the tax rate in case it gets approved, because you can't go back and redo it. That's why it has to be approved. If that portion of it is not approved later, then it'll be reduced then. but you can't go back and do it.
Oh, so we cannot do 14 first, then go back to
No,
here?
no, you have to do this first, because it sets the tax rate.
Okay. So do I need to vote?
So trustee Sanchez.
Trustee Sanchez approves.
Correct.
No? Alice Chan approve.
Trustee Thompson, approve.
Councilman Bostic, approve.
Trustee Souza Montalongo approves.
That's already.
Councilwoman Rosas approved.
Trustee Reichling, approve.
Councilman Caldwell approve.
Trustee Jean-Baptiste approves.
Mayor Pro Tem Xavier Herrera in favor.
Vice President Ashamarani, affirmative.
Mayor Matthew approves.
Trustee Manuel Hinojosa approves. 12C passes unanimously 14-0. And now we have 12D, presiding officers call for, we've done that, right?
Yeah, but this is for the .21, the sinking fund.
Okay, presiding officers call. Members of the board and members of city council to approve the tax rate of .215224 for the purpose of paying the interest and providing a sinking fund for the payment of bonded indebtedness of the SMSD for the tax year 2023 and related actions. And we'll go ahead and start with trustee Sanchez this time.
Trustee Sanchez approves.
Councilman Wood, approve.
Trustee Thompson, approve.
Alice Chan approve.
Trustee Souza Montalongo approve.
Councilman William Bostic approves.
Trustee Reichling, approve.
Councilwoman Rosas approves.
Secretary Jean-Baptiste approves.
Councilman Caldwell approve.
Trustee Ashamarani approves.
Mayor Pro Tem Xavier Herrera in the affirmative.
Trustee Manuel Hinojosa approves.
Mayor Matthew approves.
So we have 12D is approved unanimously 14-0. Okay, so now we have agenda item number 13, consideration and possible action by city council. So I think this next item is the mayor's, so I'll pass it over to the mayor.
Okay.
13, excuse me.
Agenda item number 13, consideration and possible action by City Council to adopt an ordinance providing for the assessment, levy, and collection of ad valorem taxes by the City of Stafford, Texas, for the use and benefit of the Stafford Municipal School District for the tax year 2023 to fund the school budget year 2023-24, providing the date on which such taxes shall be due and payable, providing for penalty and interest on all taxes not timely paid, repealing all the ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and containing a severability clause.
Mayor and city council, what you will have, you will take three actions. You'll take an action that would approve the debt service, and then an action with the maintenance, as just like you did before on the other two, and then you would approve overall the ordinance overall, because it includes some other items in regards to how we levy the taxes. So what you ask for first would be a motion to set the tax rate for the maintenance and support, and you would set that at that rate that you .8127.
Mayor Matthew?
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve the tax rate of .8127 for the support and maintenance of schools for tax year 2023 and related actions.
Second.
So do we have to go by one or?
No,
To City Council.
Just you. Just y'all.
We haven't suspended our rules.
No, but we don't have those rules. You can take the action by roll call if you choose, or you can take it as you normally would. Normally, you would take it just as you normally would take your action.
Yeah, okay. So, do you have a, yeah, you have a second. All in favor? Motion got passed.
And then the next one would be a motion by the board to approve the tax rate of .215,224. Make sure I got that number right.
Yes, that's
For the
correct.
purpose of paying the interest and providing a sinking fund for the bonded indebtedness.
You make a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve a tax rate of .215224 for the purpose of paying the interest and providing a sinking fund for the payment of bonded indebtedness of the SMSD for the tax year 2023 and related actions.
Second.
So, all in favor? Motion passes unanimously.
And lastly, Mayor, we need a motion to approve the tax rate ordinance.
Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the tax rate ordinance as presented.
Second.
So, all in favor? Thank you. Anything else, Art?
That item is concluded, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mayor.
Thank you, Attorney Bertel, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Which leads us into agenda item number 14, which is consider adoption of a joint order of the Stafford Municipal School District and ordinance of the City of Stafford calling a voter-approved tax rate election for the Stafford Municipal School District, making provisions for the conduct of and the giving of notice of the election and containing other provisions relating thereto. And a point of order here, and this is a question for Attorney Portal and Attorney Langlois. On this item, we're going to be doing the public comment first, but when we get to is this going to be a dual, I know it's going to be a dual, but do we have to approve it as a SMSD board body first and then do the?
It's written as, I'm not sure if there's a presentation or not with regards to the voter-approved tax rate. And then there's public comment. And then following that, the way that it's written is to have just a single vote
Single
of
vote.
7-0.
All right. I think the presentation was made earlier, so I think at this, unless there's a further presentation, and I'll defer to Dr. Bostic. If there's a further presentation on agenda item number 14, otherwise we're going to go to,
I'm sorry, I had some human issues.
good. So we're on 14. Is there a presentation?
Oh, let me give you some, you wanted some information, background on it before we go to it? Is that what you're asking? So,
Before it goes to the public.
No,
Right.
Just going to the public for comments on the ordinance.
Yes. For the viewing public, but you know what? I'm really excited because we have public here. So the voter-approved tax rate election, there's a couple things that we have to bring out. The first one is that the state requires that we actually bring this up by August 21st. And for our longtime Staffordians, you're going to know that we normally do our budget on the last part of August. So it's real strange we're doing it on the 21st. So they require that we have to call any kind of outside elections, or at least even have it considered before time by the 21st. The second part, which is today, the second part is until since this body does not actually elect to actually do a voter-approved tax rate election, I don't want to say the only, they have the opportunity to put it before the body. If they choose to put it before the body, some of the things like, what are the questions on what is it about? There's lots of information that's been created. But if the body does not choose to do any one of these, then we would not put information out for it because it wouldn't be before the body to vote, if that makes any sense. And so they have time between now and November to get that information out to have meetings with the community, to have lots of very informal and formal meetings, face-to-face, talk to people, answer questions. There's videos, lots of information, but none of that information is actually out or posted until the body chooses to, the elected body gets an opportunity to choose whether it goes before the voters for consideration in November. So that might answer some of it. The voter-approved tax rate election item that they're looking at is an amount of 12 cents. as was stated in the presentation early on, with that overall tax rate that you've already heard that they've had an opportunity to vote on with that 14-0 vote, thank you very much, that shows 81 cents as though the voter-approved tax rate had happened. But if it does not happen, the budget was built on 69 cents as though the voter-approved tax rate did not happen. And all the cuts and items that are associated with that number are still with that. So are there any other questions based on that kind of presentation about it? But the key thing is what the folks, the elected body up here has an opportunity to vote on is the opportunity to put it before the voters. And so no information goes out until they choose to either put an item before the voters or not. So we don't prematurely put that part out.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bostic. So that leads us into 14A, which is comments from the public regarding SMSD voter-approved tax rate election, joint order, and ordinance. At this time, I'll open public comment. If anybody would like to come up to the podium to address the joint bodies, you have 5 minutes. Please state your name. And as a reminder, we'll keep track. You have 5 minutes, and I'll raise my hand when you have a minute left.
Yes, good evening, and again, my name is Amina Mohammed, and I live in Stafford Colony, and I've lived there for the past 26 years. I have a couple of questions, and that as a citizen, I'm concerned about the tax rate that are being, proposed and spoken about. My first is 2 parts. Will there still be a deficit if this voter approval goes before the public? Will there still be a deficit within the budget? Because just looking at the budget, it appears that there'll still be a deficit. And then my second is that what happens if the voters do not approve of it? Is that 69 cents that Superintendent Bostic mentioned, and if it's approved, the budget is set for the 89 cents? Is that correct, if the public approved it? I was a little fuzzy on that comment. So those are my 2 concerns concerning the voter approval. And then my last is about the students. There's a 600 student deficit. Where will these students come from? And what campaign will be launched to attract them? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Muhammad. Any additional comments from the public?
I still have the same question about how is this a fixed rate, permanent, if it's approved by the public? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Any additional comments from any members of the public on agenda item 14A? All right, seeing none, we're going to close public comment, and we'll go to 14B, which is presiding officer's call for a vote of the members of the board and members of city council to approve adoption of a voter-approved tax rate election, joint order, and ordinance. Now, I will need a little bit of guidance here from the attorneys. So are we doing the 2 bodies? Roll call?
Yes, we can do that, but we need to answer the questions that were raised.
I'm sorry.
Okay. President Hinojosa, Mayor Matthew, members of the board, members of council, and the viewing people, and those wonderful individuals came up and spoke to us just a little bit. First question was, will there be a deficit in the budget? I'll ask the CFO to answer that because she's got the actual numbers. What happens if the voters do not approve it? The tax rate and the budget that we approved already is the one that we would stick with at 69 cents. and the cuts that we have. What happens if the voters do approve it? Then it would move up to that total tax rate, or it could be of 81 cents in the maintenance and operations area. Where do the 600 students come from? The 600 students come from Stafford right now, and really for the last decade and probably before the decade I've been here, we have more than 1/3 of the students that attend Stafford are from outside of the district. We have students from Conroe, we have lots of students from Fort Bend, HISD, some from Alief, but quite a few from Fort Bend, Alief, several private schools that are around, and charter schools. So we do have a marketing campaign out, and I want to say in 2018, we had done some marketing to have students not just come to, in 2018, we didn't have a STEM school, but to come to Stafford when the district did some rebranding, and it talked about being the best little school district in Texas, and what we offered. For example, some of the programs that we offered, we've got an early college high school, and that's very attractive, where, for example, in Fort Bend County, we have the largest number of students who graduate with associate's degrees in the entire county. In fact, Fort Bend ISD had their first graduating class of students with associate's degrees in high school. We had 76, they had 18, and this was their first year. Last year we had 50-something. The year before that we had 30. So we have programs like that that are attractive, that bring in folks, and we put that out for marketing. The last question is this a fixed rate and if approved by the public? So while the rate may be fixed at first, you have this same voting body has the opportunity to change that and take that back down. So for the amount of time, and CFO, and I've got our attorney on the end, is that correct, attorney? Okay, so we have the opportunity they have the opportunity to take that back down. While I cannot speak for any of the electeds, let me be crystal clear. The point of the request for a voter-approved tax rate election really just has to deal with the fact that we're living under the current laws of the state of Texas and the federal government, but it is not one that I from my personal opinion, in 10 years, that we even look forward or even wanted to do. In fact, we called the commissioner of the state of Texas to try to figure out if there's another way, or if they were going to have a special session to address it, because, well, I didn't give my opinion on whether I believe it's fair or not, but I'll be honest with you and tell you it's not my favorite thing to do. So if there's an opportunity for us to recommend a savings to the taxpayer, as has been our practice in INS side, which is our debt service side, I will continue to make recommendations to drop appropriate pennies and items back to that to balance out the budget and as we move forward. And then the question on would there still be a deficit in the budget? I think maybe initially it would be, and the CFO can follow up if there's some detailed numbers that she can provide, but if that satisfies that, I think initially it would be. And the reason I say initially it would be is because every 2 years there's a legislative session. There's also a possibility for a third special session that could give some possible relief to districts. But we don't know that and cannot account for it. And so unfortunately, we can't put that there. And we have to show it as what it actually states right now, the pain point that it really is to us right now, August 21 of 2023. But we can tell you that if there is not just if voters come out and vote, because at this point, and this is going to change what I can say too, by the way, for the viewing public. Right now, I can talk some about the voter-approved tax rate election, but based on what the elected folks do up here, if they choose to move forward with a voter-approved tax rate election or a bond, it will limit us being able to do what they call advocate for or against, anything like that. I hope I kind of answered those questions. I don't know the exact number for the first year that we would be under, but we're really evaluating each program. month by month, because the Board of Trustees, and we didn't get to say this early on because we didn't have that scripted, but I'm glad that question was asked. There is a monthly accountability part that they will be adding to their board agendas to check on things like, here's what the budget is, how much did you spend, by program, by budget manager, so we can see that. It has not been our practice in the past to overspend in other areas. We have, at least the 9 years I have in front of me, we have had a pretty large amount of success with having our budget inside the bounds of, you know, that it needs to be in. But they have put some accountability pieces in there, and we want to be held accountable because we want to make sure the taxpayers see what's going on with the dollars, but see what's happening. We also want to make sure if they choose to move forward with this, that we put out educational programs and answer questions like those great questions you gave us, which I'm sure are going to end up, if they choose to do something, in a video or correspondence somewhere near you. Because if you've got that question, I bet you there are hundreds who didn't get to talk who have the same question. So I want to thank you very much for your questions from yourself and former trustee Butler. Great questions.
Mr. Pertile, Sarah, are we ready to proceed to 14B?
Yes.
All righty. So we'll start with your side, Mr. Mayor. On 14B.
14B?
Yes, call for, presiding officers call for a vote from the members of the board and members of the city council to approve adoption of the voter-approved tax rate election joint order and ordinance.
Yeah, it has to be one by one or no?
I think.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, we're doing roll call vote when we're doing it joint. Yes.
Okay. So you start or me start? You start.
You're one of your, or one of your people, staff, or no, council.
You can pick,
You pick
you can
first.
start.
Oh,
You can do it if you
I can do it. Yes, I make a motion to approve the,
No, it's not a motion, it's just a vote.
oh, just the vote?
Yeah, you could, if you want to start with, you want to start on the end, and we can go, and
I'll
you can
start
finish
with the
you.
end. Yeah, you.
Oh, okay. It looks like I'm going to get the first opportunity to speak on this and vote. And I just want to ask for a point of clarity, and I know we've discussed it, but just for the listening public, what is the estimated amount of revenue that would be raised if the VAT were to pass
Good question.
for the first year?
Ms. CFO?
Yes. It was estimated at $3.9 million, but should the board decide to use some of that for teacher raises or something like that, that would go down.
Okay, and just another point of clarity, the current budget that we just passed has a budget cuts needed of $6,568,079. So am I to understand that the $3.9 million VAT rate, if passed, would be used to reduce the budget cuts needed for this coming fiscal year, starting September 1st, 2023?
The $36 million in expenditures has already incorporated all the budget cuts.
Right. But my question is, if the public chooses to pass this VAT rate, will those expenses then rise, commensurate with the additional revenues?
No, that's, I think I've got that. That's, I hope I got your question, which is, if the VAT was to pass, would our expenses rise with that?
I didn't phrase that well. What I meant to say, would the budget cuts needed be reduced? The budget cuts needed, if the VAT is to pass, what will be the impact in raw numbers on the additional budget cuts needed for fiscal year 23-24?
I think I've got that. So, using that $6.9 million set of numbers that we had for cuts, if the VAT was to pass, would the cuts be reduced, basically that $3.9 million worth?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
I think it would be a combination. The answer is yes, but it's kind of a combination because it'll come back again to this body to amend the budget on how they're going to apply that $3.9 million, whether you're going to apply it just directly to cuts, or are you going to use some of it for raises or items like that? So the answer is yes, but it has your input and this body's input. Is that kind of answering your question or no?
Yes, I guess I just want the public to understand the importance of this VATRI is that it's going to close the gap, as I
Yes.
understood it.
Okay,
So that the
okay.
budget cuts will not be
Sure.
so extreme as they currently are.
They are, and I'm glad you keep bringing that. It's not just you, everybody. I brought it out too in my speech. He's right. The budget cuts are extreme. The whole purpose for the voter-approved tax rate election, or the request for that, is to close the gap. That's what you're asking me to confirm. The answer is yes. We're gonna do that. And then the application of still some of the cuts and reviewing and holding the school district accountable for what is being spent, we won't let up on that part, if that makes any sense. So we're gonna still be held accountable, even though we may have, if we choose to have an election, and if the voters of Stafford choose to support, I'm looking down there, okay, I'm not in trouble. So if they choose to support that, then yes, sir, we would be closing the gap, because we see that it's a combination of not just increased revenues that we needed, but we also need to go back and reflect and review on all of the dollars that have been spent. What are they being spent for? Where is it going to? And then have some continuous accountability. And so it's kind of a combination of both. I hope that's a more complete, I added more color to the answer, hopefully.
Thank you, Dr. Bostic, and thank you, CFO Campos, for the clarifications. They're very important. I just want to express that I believe it is the role and as an elected member and the opportunity to vote on this, I believe that it is in the voters' hands to make their decision based on the facts and based on the information. It is of my opinion that we should approve this because of those reasons, so that we can reduce the shortfall and hope to shore up the programs, the students, the teachers that are providing education for SMSD. So I'll refrain from any further comments, and my vote is in the affirmative.
Thank you, Councilman Wood. Trustee Sanchez.
Trustee Sanchez approves.
City Councilor Alice Chin approve.
I do have a question. So if the voters were to approve the VATRI, that will bring us back into a healthy fund balance at the end of the year, or?
So, trustee, the VATRI alone does not do that, so that's a good question. The VATRI alone doesn't do it. It's a combination. So part of our work is to make sure there is a fund balance for the people who are watching and listening. There's a fund balance policy that we were made very aware of during our joint budget meetings. And so our purpose is to get the fund balance back to a healthy area. And in fact, it is a combination of, very strategic cuts and reductions and evaluations, as well as the VATRI to put it back on track. And then if we are to have some other revenues that are to come into play, for example, some of the unique ones that I brought up, like the possibility of a third special session, the possibility of even other revenues that could possibly come in that we're not aware of right now, then the collection of that together would actually bring us back to a healthy fund balance. But I want to note for the public, this did not happen overnight. I think you've heard that multiple times tonight. This did not happen overnight, and so it won't be fixed overnight. But there is a plan to come out of this with a very graduated, systematic process to actually bring those dollars back into fund balance and report those out. So our community knows that not only have we done the right thing with any request for dollars, but the current dollars that we have available to us. And then for reporting out and accountability for the staff and the folks and the programs and positions we have here, that the community and SMSD and the city hold most dear, to really take a look at those as you all have been doing. And that's really probably more for the viewing public than maybe for anyone else, because you've been in those meetings as well. So you've had a few votes on at least one or two programs they hold very dear, and when we've got some responses on what's needed and what the community wants and what they don't want.
Okay. Trustee Thompson, approve.
City Councilman Bostic, approve.
Trustee Souza Montalongo approves.
Councilwoman Rosas approves.
Trustee Reichling, approve.
Councilman Caldwell, approve.
Secretary Jean-Baptiste, approve.
Mayor Pro Tem Xavier Herrera, approve.
Vice President Ashamarani approves.
Mayor Matthew approves.
Trustee Manuel Hinojosa approves. 14B, motion passes with the 14-0 vote. So next agenda item is number 15. There will be no action on this agenda item. So with that not being an action, I think that by course, there's no action on 16 either, correct? So with that leads us into agenda item number 17, which is consideration of ratification of approval of interlocal agreement for school resource officers for the 2023-2024 school year by the SMSD Board. Dr. Bostic.
Okay. President Hinojosa, members of the board, Mayor Matthew, members of council, for the viewing public who've had an opportunity to take a look and watch our many meetings about this. I've talked about our officers, Chief Ramirez, who's in the back, love Chief Ramirez, and the outstanding police officers and support we've had since the very first day this school district opened its doors. We only asked for one change, or that was in the conversation between the bodies, and it was, can we pay for, with the new House Bill 3 passing the legislative body, it required that they have some training, and that even our chief, who's not an SRO, he's the chief of police for the whole city, we got to get training for him too. And so we thought it was a reasonable negotiating item to request that we take care of the cost for that training, or at least share it. Was that it, Attorney Langlois, is that right? Yes, sir, that's correct. Okay, pay for that in there, and I think that was a reasonable request. So at this time, I would ask the trustees approve as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Bostic.
So what is the detail about it?
Mr.
So
It's a board action, Mayor, it's the board action, the agreement that we approved at the last council meeting. The school board is now approving that agreement.
So don't they have to explain to the public?
They have the item on there, and if the public, it's on the agenda item, they will allow the public to speak on it.
Okay.
That we all share the same rules, and they will allow the public to speak on that.
Okay, if you say so.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're actually ready for the vote. On 17A, 17, we'll entertain a motion on 17A. All right, we'll do a roll call, because we suspended the rules. So used to the motion. All right, so we'll start with,
I do, just one point of order. As a school board, we are required to have public comment that's open for any action item we take. I don't know if we've actually had an opportunity for the public to comment on this particular item. So we haven't had an open, and in all our meetings, we typically have an open agenda for public comment. So,
That is correct. Per your, per the Open Meetings Act and your board policy being the local, you are correct. And because it's an action item, it would be limited to, and this is a special meeting, just to this one item. And so if there is a member of the public who would like to speak, because we didn't have that opportunity for public comment at the beginning like we normally do.
Gotcha. So
that would be permissible.
thank you, Attorney Longwell, and thank you, Vice President Hamarani. So, so a little bit of housekeeping here for agenda item 17. It's consideration of ratification of approval of interlocal agreement for school resource officers for 2023-2024 school year by the SMSD Board. Since this is a public meeting, at this moment, I'll open it up to any member of the public that would like to comment on the approval of the interlocal agreement between SMSD and the City of Stafford on the school resource officers. Okay, seeing none, then the public comment for 17 agenda item is closed. Now, I will entertain a motion so we'll call for a vote, so.
Trustee Sanchez approves.
Trustee Thompson, approve.
Trustee Souza Montalongo, approve.
Trustee Reichling, approve.
Secretary Jean-Baptiste approves.
Trustee Ashamrani approves.
And Trustee Manuel Hinojosa approves. So motion carries 7-0 for 17. So which leads us into agenda item number 18, which is brief closing remarks by SMSD representatives and city representatives. Mr. Mayor?
Me go first again?
Tell you what,
I will go. So, thank you all for having this joint meeting. We are taking care of the children mainly the children of Stafford. We've been doing it for years and years since the beginning, as I said before. Going forward from now on, I would appreciate both bodies come together and signed an agreement before we do further anything. We have to have for anything. If it is free, okay, let there be a signed agreement. Whatever the negotiated amount that we have to have, I think both bodies should sign the agreement. Unless it is signed approved by both bodies, it should not be accepted. So my point is, we are here to support each other, but at the same time, it involves money matters, the finances of both bodies. We have to be accountable for that one. So I wish and hope both bodies will, going forward, that we should have a signed agreement. And I, as a mayor, going forward from now on, if there is no signed agreement, I will not ask my city to go and forward and provide those services. So I wanted to be very clear, because going forward, because of my financial background, I have never ever seen two entities come together, not signing the agreement, and then going forward. So I would urge in a friendly manner that we are responsible for the people's money, and we have to account for it and have to spend it properly. And I also appreciate everybody here watching us, and also all the board members and also all the council members here for coming together and supporting each other, and let us go forward together, because like Dr. Bostic said, we are one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Trustee Sanchez?
I'll make my comments brief. This really, the collaboration we've seen tonight, not only the city council, but our board trustees, that we're working together for the betterment of our community. I like to praise Dr. Bostic, CFO Campos for all their hard work during this project. I know it wasn't easy. I know, there was a lot of moving pieces, a lot of gears working, and not in our favor, but we're on the right track. And I want the public to know that going forward, public money that's very near and dear to everybody, because we've all up here gotten phone calls probably the last week about what are we doing, what's going on, but let us rest assured that, you know, the city of Stafford, the Stafford Municipal School District is heading into the right direction, not only academically, but financially. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I want to, sorry, I thought it was going. I apologize.
Start the other way. We started with you, Mayor, so we come back this way.
But I already said.
I know, so it's Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. This evening, we've witnessed the important work that takes place when both the city and the school district work together to make thoughtful budgetary decisions. While the budget process can be arduous at times, I can assure you that each member of the city and school board takes this task seriously as we strive to make the best possible decisions to achieve our desired goals and outcomes. While keeping in mind our financial restraints, we constantly look forward to what's best for our students, teachers, staff, and community as a whole. The budget isn't just a document that outlays the finances of the district. It's a roadmap of where we want our district to go, and it's a plan that helps us get there. While budgets may seem boring or secondary to the process of education, I can assure you that the budgeting process is essential to planning and forming the future of SMSD, as you have witnessed during our number of budget meetings. As myself and my colleagues finalize the school budget, we hope that it reflects the value and spirit of excellence that it is expected from our Spartan community. In closing, I would like to sincerely thank the SMSD faculty, students, and staff for their hard work and dedication, which is shown here today, as there's a good amount of them that are still here in the audience. I also want to thank Chief Ramirez as well as his officers that are still here. So thank you very much for your diligence on this. So lastly, I'd like to thank the parents and community as a whole, and you, the viewing audience. Without your trust and support, SMSD could not exist. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Herrera.
That's my turn.
Trustee,
I want to thank our viewing audience. I want to thank everybody who's in the auditorium this evening. I'd like to thank Ms. Campos for her hard work and dedication on this budget. I'd also like to thank our city council members and the mayor for us being as one body tonight. I'm looking forward to a successful school year, and thank you all.
Thank you very much. Again, I'd like to thank everyone who was a part of this process. I know it's been long and tedious and very difficult, hard decisions have had to be made, and hopefully in the future we can have more funds to do more things that we want to do to accomplish. I'd like to thank Dr. Bostic and President Hinojosa for keeping academics first, which is the most important thing, is that the students make sure there is no gap. I believe at the beginning of COVID, in the middle of COVID, some experts estimated that because of COVID, there would be a 2-year learning gap or learning loss gap for students. Decisions were made on behalf of the board to make sure that that didn't happen. Dr. Bostic and his executive staff put things in place to make sure that that didn't happen. So I know that with this budget, although it is not ideal, that they will extract maximum from minimum and get the best out of what they have. So again, I would like to thank them for their efforts, and I'd like to thank the public again for supporting us, again, with your voices. And thank you again, and we will do what's best by our students.
thank you, Councilman Cole.
The 2023-24 school year will definitely be challenging for everyone. With faith, I do believe our hardworking administrators, teachers, and staff will work diligently to overcome these challenges. We will continue to be the best little school district in the state of Texas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Virginia.
Thank you. First of all, I want to like to thank the people behind the scenes. We have SME TV here that is so diligent in being able to send this meeting to the home so that you can see and you can always go back and review it in case you missed something. And our city secretary, Roxanne Benitez and Sonia Austin, they do a lot of work, a lot of revisions, a lot of behind-the-scenes action that we wouldn't be kept apprised of changes and whatnot. So very good work on their part. But I do want to thank the CFO. It's not easy. It's not easy giving the answer that you don't want to give. That's the hard fact. But then you just present it as it is, and it's up to the body, the trustees, to take that information and just dig deep and see what processes they have to do to get close to a balanced budget. It's not our part to second guess what decisions we make, because we know what their function is, the trustees and the superintendent, is to educate the children. Decisions were made along the way that unfortunately things didn't turn out the way that they had anticipated. Nobody can anticipate any kind of natural disasters or medical issues that come up. They're worldwide. So taking all that, I think as long as we keep communication open between these two bodies, that's what it's going to take. It's not laying any blame on anybody. These are the facts. This is what we're working with. How can we come to a solution that is going to, at the minimum, protect the education of the kids in the classroom? That's what it's all about. And as I said earlier, tough decisions. You know, there's some pet projects that you might not want to let go, but that's the hard part. And that's going to be a task that they're going to have to look at. I'm just glad that we have such great leadership on the trustee side and great leadership on the city side, that we can work together as one to get the job done. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rosas.
I would like to start out by saying thank you to CFO Campos and Dr. Bostic, just for all the hard work y'all have put into this. And I'm just thankful for everyone on this board and city council choices. But in the end, we love our kids at SMSD, and we are going to do what's best for them and to make this year and every year in the future the best that it can be.
Thank you. Trustee Reckler.
Thank you. I'd just like to reiterate my appreciation for Dr. Bostic, President Hinojosa, the school board, my fellow council members, Mayor Matthew, and I just want to continue to tell you all that despite the pressure, the difficulties that we are facing, the realities that we're facing in these ever-changing times, just to remember that our kids are resilient, our parents are resilient, our teachers, they're very resilient. And you know, everything that they face on the front line, they're able to handle it. And we have to also, this entire body, which I'm proud to be a part of, I know that we'll all be there to support y'all. And at the end of the day, regardless of how bleak, difficult it might be, we're here for y'all, and we know that y'all are here for us. So once again, this is Stafford America, red and gold. So I look forward to continuing to work with y'all, and it's an honor and privilege to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Boss. Secretary John Bell.
Thank you again, CFO Campos, Dr. Bostic, for your leadership, your executive cabinet. Thank you guys for presenting the budget and starting off making the hard decisions. As we all know, we are in a challenging situation, and not just our district, districts around the state, as we've said before. If you watch the local news, you'll see that other districts are doing the same thing. They're having to make decisions based off of what happened in Austin over the last 2 sessions, and also, you know, from previous decisions on making sure that children didn't have a huge learning gap through the pandemic. But with every challenge is opportunity. This is our time as a community to think outside the box, to see what we can do as a community member to help our district. I know there's not money, but there's things that we can do to support our schools, our teachers. Ask, you know, what do we need that, you know, won't kill the budget? And then I challenge our teachers and our administrators. There are a lot of wants in this world, but what does it really take to educate our children and give them a quality education? Let's focus on the needs first. What does it take? iPad, whatever the need is, and focus on the need, and the wants will come later as we become more financially stable. I thank you guys. I thank the listening public. Again, I challenge us as a board to make sure that we hold everyone accountable when we're doing our spending and reviewing our budget on a monthly basis. And again, I challenge the public, our viewing audience and the community to let's all work as one, again, to keep, not make, but to keep our school district the best little school district in Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Jean-Baptiste.
Yes, I want to thank you, Dr. Bostic, and also CFO. It's not an easy job because we go through this budget meeting several times. We ask tough questions. The reason we ask tough questions because we want to find out, we're going to do our due diligence. But like Jackie mentioned, this is not only our city and our school. Every school district have the same issue. But I remember Dr. Bossi say that one time. He said, "Tough time will pass, but tough team will stay." Something like that. I remember what he said. So, all of us here try to do our best for the children, for the Stafford children. They are our future, and that's why we are here to fight for them, to do whatever we can for them. They are our first priorities. We need to give them the best education, provide more education resources for each, and provide a safe environment for all our Stafford students. Every kids, in a way, it's our kids. So we are here tonight to tell the voter, even tonight, we're increasing the voter-approved tax rate 12 cents. But like CFO just mentioned, your 12 cents will bring in $3.9 million to the school budget. We're going to close the gap so we can continue work, provide the best for our children. And also, some people ask me, "Alice, I have a house, $260,000. So what's going to impact me?" I'll tell you one thing, it's good news to everyone. Because this year, the ADA legislature, they approved $100,000 home exemption. That means you actually pay less tax. So back to the $260,000 house, you're supposed to pay every year $1,846.82. With voucher, with this 12 cents, you only pay $1,110. That means you actually reduce your property tax $736.69. How do I know all these numbers? Actually, Dr. Bosick sent us a video, a YouTube video. I think Dr. Bosick is going to put this video on the website. I urge every resident, watch this video, then you will know how much you're going to help the school by raising this 12 cents. Vote yes on this voucher. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I want you to understand the impact, the financial impact for this 12 cents. Going to bring in money to close the gap for the school budget. So we all work together. every one of us here, we always remember we are one. That's why we are fighting together for this financial difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Chen.
Thank you very much. Our agenda item does say brief closing remarks. I will keep my remarks very brief. Thank you very much to our SME TV production staff. Thank you to our public who actually participated today, including former trustee Butler. We do appreciate that. As I mentioned, you are the ultimate bosses. You sit at the top of the pyramid, so I always encourage people to continue to come and participate. Ms. Campos, congratulations. You've overcome a very big hurdle, getting the budget passed. Now comes the tougher part, which is enforcing your budget. So Dr. Bostic, your administrative staff, Ms. Campos, whatever we can do to continue to support you, please reach out to us. We are here for you, and we will continue to support you as we go through this challenging year.
Thank you, Vice President Harmon. And then we're done on your side. So Dr. Boss, or? Oh. Mr. Wood.
Good evening. I want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank Superintendent Bostic and CFO Campos for the hard work that goes behind the scene. I want to thank each of my colleagues here behind the dais, City Council and School Board, for working together, for being patient, for those of us that are learning our new roles. The questions were not intended to cause discomfort, but to make sure that we're doing the best, because I think it's important for all of us to not kick the can down the road, and I'm happy to report that we have acted tonight. We have acted tonight to put SMSD in better financial footing. We have acted tonight to put your students in better opportunities for their education, which is the purpose of these tax rates and all of these other things. I just want to encourage, now that it's time for the administrators to execute this budget, please listen to the school board and the public about focusing on 100% of someone's child. Let's make sure that we are student-focused. And when we're tasked with looking at an expense, that we ask ourselves, does this expense directly impact students? Because those are the expenses that we cannot afford to get rid of, the expenses that directly impact students and impact student outcomes. Education is and should be our top priority. It is the most important thing for this city and for this school district. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be with each of you tonight and for the collaboration that has occurred among these two bodies. And I ask for forgiveness if my questions were a little too poignant, but I hope you understand they come from a good place. They come from a place of being experienced here in the district as an employee, as a father of 3 children now in the district. So they come from a place of concern, love, and passion, and I'm happy that this joint body has done the best that we can with the options available to us tonight for that end, to help the students in this district and in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Wood. Dr. Boss.
Tough times don't last, but tough teams do. Tough times don't last, but tough teams do. Dr. Don DeBose in the back, Chief of Schools, that's what she told us when we had our convocation this year. Mr. Wood mentioned one of my favorite lines, and I've used it for 10 years. What about that 5% that didn't make it if 95% passed? That's 100% of somebody's child. Tonight, voters, Staffordians, we have 14 champions. 14. I can call them by name, but they're 14 champions. They acted today. I won't be able to use the quote I used last year and say that in 20 blah, 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 I ask you to do whatever. You acted. Let the voters, the ultimate bosses, figure out if we can provide them with enough data to do that. I will remind folks, I do have attorneys around here, and I'm sure they will correct me, that as of tonight, we will not be able to advocate for or against a voter-approved tax rate election, but we can provide information. Is that correct? My attorneys are nodding. Anything other than that is not something we can do. It would be wrong for me to not mention SME TV, who's been with us every step of the way in every single situation. They have reporters that report every time on what we do. No matter how small someone else thinks it is, they make it very big because it's big for us. I want to thank former trustee Butler, and I had wonderful lady's name, Miss Amir, oh, here it is, Amina Muhammad, and Mr. Allen, when they came out and talked to us and for us, because they spoke for members of the community who might not have been able to get out to come up tonight. But for every voice they mentioned, there's 100 or 1,000 that didn't get to speak that have the same questions. We want to make sure that we answer that. For the questions and comments about accountability, we need to be held accountable. We need to see everything. I know it's very difficult to get a 5-second soundbite and to armchair quarterback on just a few bites of information. But let me assure you that the action that the council and the trustees took tonight is one that was informed, it was strategic, it was accountability, it was information that they had, and they're acting, and they will not only just hold accountable, but we have a plan that we plan to get out. Because we started with that line that we brought up right up front, you know, tough times don't last, but tough teams do. Tough teams can't last if you don't have a plan, and you can't actually get out if you don't follow the plan. So that's exactly what we plan to do, and then we want to hold that back to you. I want to tell, we have a guy in here who's been with us for 10 years. He is a state and national expert, and I haven't mentioned his name, but I'm going to call him out, and he is Dr. Jesus Amezcua, and I don't know if the camera can get him. Dr. Amezcua is an expert in finance. There is not anybody who's better than him. He may tell somebody else that they are, but they're lying. He's the best one. And he has been with this district regardless of whether he was paid 1 penny. We have not paid him 1 penny to come over here and give us expert advice, sit with us during the middle of our meetings as though he's a paid employee. He is not. He does not work for us. We do not give him any dollars. But because he's decided to help the citizens of Stafford in this school district, it's gone through 3 mayors, is that correct? In order to get that, we are the only municipal school district in Texas. And while things happen in ISD, there is some variance when it comes to a municipal district. So I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, Dr. Amezcua, thank you, sir. And I think on behalf of this board and this council, we really greatly appreciate your help. CFO Campos, I completely agree. Congratulations on making it through this very first one. And this is a tough one to get through because you got to give some information people didn't want to hear. In fact, I've never seen anything easy, anything good doesn't seem to come easy. It's always hard. Ask the people who were here 40 years ago when they decided to what? Sue and break away from a school district who did not put children first. In my speech, I said I have never had a parent who asked me about going to the second best school or having the second best security or having the second best anything. This is Stafford Municipal School District, the best little school district in Texas. And for those of you who have heard about, and we did do some tabling tonight, we have a 2030 vision. I think our president will talk some about it. We didn't forget where we're going, but we want to make sure we get on a stable footing. We did what was right for children. I want to thank you to your face. I want to say it on television. Thank you for doing the right thing for children and putting it out to the voters. The voters will do the right thing for children. They did it 40 years ago. They've done it year after year after year after year. They ask the hard questions, but then they put the rubber to meet in the road just like the staff does, just like the children do in SMSD. Thank you. President?
Thank you, Dr. Bostic. Again, I'll keep my remarks brief, but I think they're important. First, I would like to thank my colleagues for just their sacrifice away from their families, and my colleagues on council. Your service to our community is not only appreciated, but is necessary, so thank you. So, you know, for those of you who don't know, for me, this is personal. And it's personal because 40 years ago, I walked on this campus and started my education here. And it was because of a vision that the citizens of this community had and something that they wanted to do for their students and for their community. And it resulted in a lot of courage and a lot of sacrifice, and they did that. And for the early part of our existence, we were in really good position. We've always been property rich. We've had 75% business. Times were good. We were able to recruit the best teachers across the Houston region. We were able to pay our teachers the best. We were the envy of all the school districts around, and Robin Hood came into play. You know, the playing field changed, and we've had to adopt since then. And there's been some changes that have occurred. Our school district, we have out-of-district kids today. We, several years ago, 9 years ago, when I first came on the board, we were tasked with creating the best school district that we could. And we've worked diligently towards that. It started with our 2020 vision. It started with the creation of our District of Innovation. It started with the creation of our last strategic plan and vision. And we made an effort to attract our students from Stafford, but also we were going to be inclusive and look at attracting the best students from all over the greater Houston region. We did that through our STEM Magnet Academy. We did that through our Early Childhood Center, where we wanted to capture our students from as early as 6 months. And we've been working towards that. And we've invested in our education because we think it's important. But in doing so, we also made a conscious students across all of our campuses, not just the STEM Magnet Academy. We've created STEM zones in our Early Childhood Center, our elementary. We've created programs for STEM students during the summer. We are doing investments in not only the STEM students, but we're also doing that for all of our students because we think all of our students are important, and we want to elevate and continue to elevate those things. We have some challenges, and we will come out stronger and better. We started to look at, just like our predecessors did over 40 years ago and setting the vision, we're also looking not only to address the things that we need to address currently, but we're also looking to set our vision of what Stafford MSD is going to look like, not just tomorrow, not just the rest of this year, but 15 years from now, 20 years from now. And we're going to be looking and continuing to work on our 2030-plus vision with our colleagues in our community because we think it's important. We think it's important to continue to provide exceptional programs that are value funds for education. They fund K through 12, all of the other things that attract students, that attract teachers, that attract families to school districts are extra or value add, and those things cost money. And everyone that I've talked to have said that that education is expensive, but it's valuable, and our job is to create our students to be prepared for a global economy and to be prepared to lead and become the leaders of tomorrow. I think we're doing that. I think tonight the actions that occurred established that, and I thank everyone for listening. And at this moment, we're going to go into agenda item number 19, which is adjournment, and I will seek some guidance from council. Do we need to do a roll call as well? Okay, so we'll start with Trustee Sanchez.
Trustee Sanchez approves.
Trustee Thompson, approve.
Trustee Souza Montalongo, approve.
Trustee Reichling, approve.
Secretary Jean-Baptiste, approve.
Affirmative.
And affirmative, the SMSD Board of Trustees meeting is adjourned. Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, can I make a motion?
Yes.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Oh, all in favor? So got it, thank you.
Meeting is adjourned. The time is 10:04.